Fantasy Baseball Analytics 2024. Come on into the lab. We have a lot to talk about today. It's all salary cap. It's all salary cap. This is the tell you a little bit too much about salary cap strategy version blog Fantasy Baseball today. This is the video that I'd like to get out to my followers and subscribers, but not my boys that are in my league, because I'm just gonna share a little bit too much on salary cap. We're gonna get it started here. We're gonna get some screens up. We've got an awful lot to talk about. I don't even have time to organize something for you guys, so we're gonna look right at the situation because I've got a little work to do. You guys have a little work to do if you've got some drafts coming up. Let me just show you what I'm dealing with here. Can I get to it? Can I get to that tab? Oh man, there it is right there. Nope, I can't get to it there. Can I get to it? Yes. So salary cap. I wanted to do one online auction championship, but I accidentally got two online auction championships, and those are popping off tomorrow and the night after. So we're fired up right now to talk salary cap draft strategy. What I have here, because there's a couple things. I mean, I want to recognize game. There's a good podcast out there. I'm listening to a lot of RotoWire. RotoWire has a high stakes auction strategy with Mark Winokur. And I think that that's a good baseline, because if you go to CBS, you're not going to get it there. And I love the guys over at Flags Fly Forever, but that salary cap program you guys just put in, you basically said nothing at all. So, this salary cap draft strategy, this is the composite of I'm drafting salary cap in football and basketball with home leagues that always fill up with owners for 6, 7 years. So seeing the evolution to say save some money and have a couple dollars for the $1 days, everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. That's no longer a tip. That was when you had rookies and noobs in the draft. So now all that money is everyone's got $3, $4, $5. Everybody stopped. So there are battles being had in the $1, $2, $3. So you've got to save 3, 4 for those guys. But I would say the real nuance is looking for what I will call the double digit, sort of single digit cliff. You might need to stop at 50, 60, $70. And so I have so many little nuggets to save for salary cap as I go in to do my prep to break down particularly who I'm targeting. And I want to say through draft season, our vision is starting to crystallize here of sorts. A lot of the same headers. I'm going to discuss some recent shares that I purchased. We're going to be practicing what we preach here in terms of player selection, but really pushing it into a salary cap draft format. I think knowing the pool coming in, we're watching health on our particular players and seeing who's up, who's down, who's having the spring breakouts. And it honestly, it hasn't been a lot of surprises. We haven't really been part of the pitchers falling apart issue because we're not there. But listen, so this is RotoWire, and I guess give some very good tips here, but I would kind of say that they're 100 level. And I think as he says them, I can probably build out what I think the next level is.
Those are two where I think I have some experience with, and I feel like I have a grasp of it. So it's interesting because I hear a lot of great players talk about auctions, and I'm a little surprised at their nomination strategy. It's typically here, I just want to get money off the table. Yes, you do. That's absolutely the goal of nominations. However, how you go.
All right, getting money off the table. I'm going to do two little things here. I guess I would remind you, let the theme be opportunity cost. Let the theme be not just looking at the team that you're building, but what teams does everybody else want to build? What are we going to be building together in this league, and seeing what other teams are doing? Because I have to share the simple thought of getting money off the table not only helps you, it helps every other person in the draft. If everybody wants money off the table, then it's not a secret advantage that you're giving. And if I were to give my first nomination tip, because it's such a mystery of what people want to do, we've talked about this before with the cookie cutter with the copycat, like, oh, that looks like a good idea, putting up a reliever, giving the draft ideas, giving the draft some sort of, if they copied you, if somebody started following your trend, would that be good for you or would that be bad for you? Just knowing that the idea of copycat is at least going to be something that you're getting involved in. So let's see how. But I agree. I agree. I mean, this is some good work here.
However, how you go
Phone's
about
gonna
it
die, so we're not gonna do
is
much of
what
this.
is, I think, is the strategy piece. So I have a couple different approaches. One thing I like to do early is nominate mid-tier players that I have going well over their valuation. So I think they're way overpriced. These are typically your helium guys, and I want to throw them out early. So the people who are
if you don't like helium, because if you hate helium, then nominate helium if you decide that that's going too much. I think you'd have said there's bad helium. There's mistakes. I mean, so pointing out nominating mistakes, mid-tier mistakes, they're bad picks that are gonna also suck money. The last person you want to have at that point that's gonna take cash off, that's a good guy, right? Because you think you're building their team in reverse. But I don't know if that's always helium. So my next thing here in an umbrella strategy, if you picture me making making sort of like, here's an umbrella, here's Ronald, Aaron, Shohei, Bobby, Matt, there's an umbrella, here's another kind of umbrella. These guys aren't going to go for the 40s, 50s, and 60s needed up here, but they're going to go for your 30s and your 27s. Being, it's going to be pretty hungry in there. So at each tier, you can probably press into helium a little bit.
to pay the premium, and they don't get a chance to get them for cheap later. The top, 20 hitters
I like, nominating pitchers. I don't like.
and pitchers are going to go for what they're going to go for, no matter when they come out. And there's plenty of other people who
don't agree with that there. So one of a general theme after all of the salary caps is players are going to tend to go from more to less. And if I'm going to have a good, successful draft and be getting it at multiple tiers, 4x returns, choose best value, best value, best value, all the way down, stack a reverse pyramid, take $60, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, build with those, and roughly be ready to strike in each tier. The secondary level, this is the part I don't want to be telling my boys because I'm doing this to them and they're not really understanding what's happening, is pushing into that tier, knowing where the hype is. It's basically putting money into the draft, but also losing the pick. Because the real issue that I'm having is you could be making your team, but what if somebody else made a crazy team? I'm trying to balance this idea of stars and scrubs. And every team is stars and scrubs. That fantasy baseball, we just wow, the sun is going down. So every team basically is going to go stars and scrubs. It's the good players and then the not good players. You're trying to balance that. I mean, so when we describe that, people aren't really picking apart how much upper level talent are you going to mash onto your team? Because I would say right now, skipping around a little bit, is that the elite players are differentiators. This is percentile rankings. So it's their percentile. This does away with the number. We're shifting to the percentage. Look how quickly your 90 percenters drop, your top 10% drop. Here's your 20 guys. So I don't think you can think about going something that isn't getting stars because you're not going to catch up from an opportunity cost situation. And this is what I'm dealing with right now. I'm gonna have to let me see if I can bring up the ADP here. I mean, if you don't have Bobby Witt, Corbin Carroll, you're gonna be behind on speed. Where I'm seeing CJ Abrams, Estoria Ruiz. I mean, is CJ Abrams a first round pick and we don't know it? Is the story of Ruiz the third round pick and we don't know it? I mean, these guys are falling incredibly far because speed, although it's not as scarce in volume, it still is compacted to a few to not that many guys. You're not gonna get if you're down. How many 20 steal guys are you gonna get with your not scrubs with your picking up value throughout the draft? You're gonna get there with a Rosa Reina and Josh Lowe. You're gonna catch someone that had took Bobby Witt or however many bases Eli De La Cruz takes. So you got Ellie, and we don't know how many O'Neal Cruz is gonna get, but so I mean, let me just
a nomination strategy, and they'll just click on the top guys in the queue. So I don't worry about that. They're going out anyway. I want to use my nomination to get out a mid-tier guy who I have as maybe $8 or $10 over his value. Get him out early, make the person pay up, and then that's how I get money off the table. So that's probably my most used version, and I basically use my file. I look for the difference column, and I put it in red if guys are overpriced, at least per my valuations. And then I create a little nominations tab with the top guys in red, and I throw out the ones that.
I mean, so nominating the bad guys he likes, but not off the top because that's easy. I mean, that's fine. I think that you get through a little bit of that, but to me, you're wasting your nom. You're wasting your nom. If you really think that you hurting someone for $10, like what's happening is be the problem. One of the worst salary caps I was in, the whole league got the idea to start nominating completely out of order. That's the biggest problem people will have because what is true value? The issue, let's talk about Wyatt Langford. Because when do I nominate Wyatt Langford? Do you wait for Wyatt Langford as long as you can while certain big stacks are lagging behind? Do you self-nom and grab Wyatt? Is Wyatt Langford cheapest in the first round before anyone's had their bearings? You have to look at those first couple nominations. People are trying to use some data points. Oh, okay, Ronald went there. No one can go for more than Ronald. Okay, here's Mookie. Mookie's about there. All right, it's later. Now I got Vlad, not gonna whatever. So people are trying to locate themselves. The worst thing is some middle locator. Sometimes the sleeper, no one's ready, like, oh no, I'm holding my money. I don't want to spend 18 there. So getting thrown out of order, it can ruin value. And so to touch on a little bit of nuance, if somebody goes out of order, but you knew he was part of your build, you're going to have to step in and get him. If suddenly, because he's so early, because it's so bad, Jackson Trio, I really like. I'm kind of looking at him as a speed guy. If he went 15, 40, or 50, I see that profile. I don't think he's 30-30. He's not 30-20. So he's 25-60 or 20-60 or 15-30 or whatever he is in that range. It's going to shift speed. So I don't want to spend 30 for him. So if somebody nominated him in the very first 3 rounds and the value I would be in, okay, I'm going to pay a tax 10, 12, 15, 20, or 22, or, at some point getting off because I don't want spoiled value. But if you know your guys and they're part of your bid, then, you can know if you have to pivot or sometimes you have to take what I might call spoiled value.
Ones that aren't like the obvious options. So that's number one. Number two, and this is what a lot of people use, and it works. Once you get a position, I like to then nominate other players in the same tier of that position. So other managers have to pay a similar price for that.
I think we've talked about this. I mean, yeah, if you hit an elite shortstop to start it off, you want to make people pay in behind you. You don't need a shortstop. You're not going to pay there. So sucking up those guys, you can see taking a nom off. I'm nominating to myself more and more frequently all the time because I want a time when I'm getting into battles, I want to control certainty of my build so that I kind of know in order that my money's going to go so that I can purchase in a pyramid structure. Purchasing out of order, unless it's final battle, I'm trying to tell myself this because of a draft. Let me go to my draft here. you'll see a couple moves here where I'm having to purchase a little out of order. I got back in on Schwarber. I knew I wanted a piece of that. Someone thinks that Schwarber sucks or doesn't like the average. So he goes 7, and I just get him and start there. What I'm getting is a steep discount early in the draft. I mean, it's not like he ran up to 35 with everybody else. I mean, I just took him because it's an oddball nomination. 36, 34, 31, 24, 14. See, obviously going down. Some money had been saved, and here's O'Neal Cruz at 63. I don't want to have to do this, but this is a good data point. Well, he may be falling in some early season, snakes. I mean, the O'Neal Cruz value, be expected to pay the freight, which is top 30, top 40, even if you're saving some money there. Because I'm really building down. I'm going to be ready to feast on single dollar players here. And I don't feel that this room was super sharp, honestly. It's not like it was a bunch of diamonds. But so that's one thing.
Talent level. So, it could be any position really. Other players in that same tier that are still there, get them out soon after I just paid retail or whatever I paid. So they have to pay pretty close to that, and they're not getting a discount. I hate when you have 2 or 3 guys in a tier that you like and you end up paying the most. So I try to make people pay something similar to what I just paid.
See, I don't agree. I'm the right player. I don't even have a tier because we just have players.
Another one is scouting. The auction.
He's gonna go into knowing what people's draft tendencies are, and so I do see that in leagues where we know each other. So our 7th year of football, the amount of we are pushing up all of the top end players because everybody realizes that you have to buy this stuff. I'm gonna pick my guy and let the salary cap tell me the price. Reverse Schrodinger, you're gonna let it tell me. I already know it's one ding, bing, bing, a couple of them, and you have to stay in. And then everyone's playing like that. So the values are extremely high. There has to be a lot of want to get top players because you have to have stars to win leagues. You have to have these elite players. I just want to show you something on stickiness of ex-WOBA on this percentile rankings. I mean, taking a look at these guys, Ronald, Judge, Ohtani, Alvarez, Freeman, Seager, Soto, Harper, Betts, Ozuna, Olson, Trout, Tucker, Vlad, Devers. That's an ex-WOBA list. Well, why are we having success? Because here's the 2022 list. The same guys: Soto, Judge, Jordan, Freddie, Bryce. Were you surprised by Corey Seager's numbers last season? We weren't, because he's right here mashing. Okay. Jose Abreu, old man Abreu. Abreu is in that Poppy Cruz, like it's gonna always be there. I mean, he hit pretty well. He's going for nothing. I mean, it's pretty safe. Goldie, when you see these guys, this is why we got a discount and could get Ronald in leagues. And you see what a very slick profile looks like. Getting some walks, all 80 plus here, max exit velos, and you can go back. It's a little bit sticky, and it's a little sticky. So there's Ronald on a good year. Ronald took more walks Ronald stopped striking out after some T work with Tatis's dad. I mean, here's why I think Fernando is going in the first round, where he's going from this old 2021 season where we see him popped here. Ohtani's been there the whole time as the strikeouts get better. Seeing little flavors of him, Kyle, just how he's in here. And so really coming back here and just refreshing Jordan Alvarez, Matt Olson, and you can pick it apart. Is it barrels? Is it exit velocity? There's the differentiator way down here. Pete with barrels. Austin Riley, 92 barrels. So that is to say that I don't think you can get pushed off of this stuff very hard. This is the real concept. You're talking about nomination strategy to get money off the board. I'm listening to like Colette on Fangraphs talking salary cap, or I mean, it might have been like labor auction or whatever he was doing. And he was like, this guy wasn't bidding on pitchers. He wasn't bidding. To keep the target off my back, the evolution, you're always kind of bidding, always bidding. I can't show, someone jumped into a salary cap with me and only focused on when I liked players and could pick up on it. So every single player I liked, after they assessed that from my overall strategy, were running me up crazily or just taking the player away. So that was like that can never happen again. You have to have a strategy outside of that, especially if people know it. And so what it is, you should look at the number. It would be this would be the stat, the key stat. How much total money did you bid into the draft? Did you put in? Because I'm speed clicking. If somebody noms for 10 and he's going to go for 50, if I can get a bid into 30 or 40, I'm going to do it. Just push that, slap that gap up, because what you have is a lot of people that are just excited. They're just seeing it and they want the player. What's happening with dollars and stuff, you're allowing people time to check their sheet, think about what they want, clicking again. If you want the price, if you want them to get off the price, it's just the amount of time somebody has to plus one. If I'm making them plus one over again, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time, you've only moved $7. If we're at 30 and I want the player, 35, do it again. They're gonna do it again. Okay, 40. So now here's a chunk. You gonna do it? And then just leave them with the bid. So that here, stay off of my stuff. Stay off of my stuff. You get a couple shots. You're not gonna get 5, 6 shots to get somebody to bid back without me chunking through it. And then, am I wasting? Do I have to spend money to get people off my back? Yeah, yeah. But if you're only bidding on your players, if you're waiting, you're holding big stack, and then suddenly, oh, that's it. You like your guy, you're gonna go spend. You're just wasting your time in the auction. You're not doing anything to the auction. Be the problem. Be the problematic situation, because other guys are trying to build teams. What I realized, the most important, while I'm going to build Cruz, and Ellie, I don't want to face Ronald and Bobby Witt either. That's going to nullify. So that's a whole nother problem. So what's happening is really pushing into who Ronald and Shohei and Bobby. So that if someone does get them, you have to crimp that style. You have to crimp that cash for later. I mean, I haven't even moved this sheet around in a little while, and we've got a lot of probably player movement to talk about a little bit. Some of this is just known. Some of my guys are crystallizing back. So like when I'm looking, let's see if I can get here. See if we can get. I think translating league depth here, I would go after you've already seen the TGFBI team right here. I'll throw it up in the background to give you guys to just show some shares that I'm actually getting. This was a 15-team snake, and the way the spring has progressed, I'm very happy with. I'm pretty happy. I'm hearing good things. Geloff is mashing. I got the double cruises on the corners. Nolan, okay. I went prospect galore, way too many for anyone's liking, but they're all mashing and all raking, so that's great. Sawinski, Mitchell might bat leadoff, Ozuna, and a hodgepodge of Ks, of strikeout pitchers, with Max Scherzer, who's already got a ball in his hand, with Buxton, who's going to get outfield eligibility. Cole Keith got paid. Rojas, you guys see what we did it, but now if I'm going into a salary cap, I'm going to need to have a better team than that. I mean, what's the point of salary cap if not to break ADP? Let's go. to break ADP, to make the special team. I think that's the whole point in terms of the ladder. And I could just go in terms of crystallizing. Let me see if I can get. All right, we want to go here. This is with. No, I just want the auctions. I want to get some prices in here. Did I go in the draft room? Maybe that's where I went. Yeah, let's just go in the draft room here. And it's good because TGFB, I've been staring at it. Here's a draft. It's a day in and out. I'm under the gun right now to figure this out. And I just want to talk about, I really like Matheson. And I think that when I'm trying to explain this thing about Forex return, who are the biggest price value mistakes? Because in terms of opportunity costs, once I have a first baseman, Matt Olson, that's all I get. In the lineup situation, if you have, here I have another corner infielder, I can have two first basemen. If I want to use the UT, I could have a third first baseman. That's it. So then I can't have the other guys. And then those other guys are lurking. So if I have Olson, I've got to deal with Pete's going to have matching power. Freddie and Vlad are going to out average him. Where I get excited, obviously, is Olson, Pete, and Vlad. But as we see, I'm gonna let a little secret out. You got to find out what it really costs. Where did Vlad go? I saw him go for 40 here. But that was me pushing into Vlad. I must have just passed over him. So, I mean, that's where I'm saying, like, you're going to see a little bit of variation on what guys really feel about the player, what the desperation is. And I think scarcity at these positions is what's going to drive the prices a lot because I can't just live with anybody. I mean, listening to so much discussion about just values and unwilling to move off your values, that doesn't make any sense to me, honestly, because I don't think dollar for dollar, player for player, this Luis Robert for 30 is starting to look a little bit cheap. I must just have the invisible Vladimir Guerrero goggles on because I know he went to 40. I wanted to see what this person's build was altogether, but we're not going to get it here. So I'm just going to keep it moving. But so back to first base in terms of crystallizing and picking your players. No matter what format you're dealing with. I just close it off of that. Let's see. I must have just clicked to close. I can only tolerate certain guys. And as prospect heavy as I am, I'm also trying to be serious. This is not the one. I'm also trying to be serious. Like, can I trust that guy? Can I live with him? I mean, I don't even have to look at the prices. I'm trying to get the prices up so that I can see it at the same time. But after Olson and Vlad, where Nolan Jones doesn't play 1B, I can deal with Torkelson, but I can't go much lower than that before I get a little bit uncomfortable with it. So the strategy has to include the guys on your ladder, and that would be if something soiled. Oh man, Matt Olson went for 45. Well, I decided it's not worth it there. I'm gonna switch down. Is this gonna be my back? I am back finally. Stop clicking through menus. So here's the value. Does it matter the difference? Yeah, I think so. I think you should want the difference. I think if you want Olson, you should go do it. I mean, Vlad's not going to come that much cheaper, and I don't think 28 is the real value because after these guys go, you don't want any of it. This is terrible. I think you can live with Casas, but if I'm going to abuse a draft, Casas is something I want to stack. It'd be Casas at a corner, maybe a UT spot, and Torkelson. Get them both. But that's all you can have. You can't really go any deeper than that. So Encarnacion Strand, I can like him as a player. I can't trust him at first base. I'm not going out to get pitching to play Encarnacion Strand at first or corner. I need to be stuffing true bats, true 1B in there. Because the other thing I want to do is keep him off other teams. Keep opportunity costs. Make sure the league doesn't have players that are going to cause you terrible problems. Would I love to have Albies? Yeah, sure. But if at 30, I'd rather have like Luis Robert, or you got to pay O'Neal Cruz freight. So I don't really have time for that at that price level. No, no Simeon, no Altuve, no Horner. McLean's already hurt. No McLean. Glaber's a good value. Glaber's a great value. Glaber's going to lead off. Get him. Trust that 2B. It's going to be cleaned up. Bryson Scott, Gimenez, no, no, no. And then there's Zach Geloff at 15. I think that Geloff can be relied on. Nolan Gordon's my last stop. I can't go into a season with Edouard Julien. So if someone had my thing, they would know that I'm only drafting between these couple of second basemen. And once the one is gone, I'm going to pay whatever I have to pay for the other one, because we're not going to have glaring holes in the at-bats. And I think between salary caps, what people have to realize, it's $200 in NBA, it's $200 in NFL, and it's $260 in baseball. For whatever reason, on a 23 round draft, I don't think the teams are that much deeper. But this 60 bills, is just slop. It's just fun money. It's pretend money. They're begging you to spend 60 on a top player and then settle in to every other normal salary cap draft you've been doing. For $200, you've got plenty of time to get some 30, 30, 20, 20, and still a lot of money left over to have tremendous depth. So you should be able to build deep teams. You can build flashy teams with 60 bills. I like the variation, and I think it's being slept on, that extra money in the draft. So going into this, you can have nice things. Your draft should be considered an embarrassment of riches. That's how you want to think of it. Getting through prospects, purchasing tons and tons of exit velocity, barrels galore. I'm looking for a Bobby Witt at 47. So I kind of think Bobby Witt is a little bit of a soft spot at the top, because I'm going back. You have to keep refreshing, looking at percentile rankings. This is what I'm doing. You know what? Let me just go on a sliding 2-month window. There's June, all of June to July barrels. Remind yourself, because there's a lot of health. You've been looking at other things, other teams. I've got shares. I've got to just erase my mind on shares and continue to get better with news of who we can play. This is a 2-month span in the middle of the summer. Ohtani, first round wise, I'll tell you right now, on this all, I mean, 41. If it, it's going to be hard to not get Ohtani. If I didn't think that Marcell Ozuna was the most mispriced player in the draft, one of the most for where he's going because of the UT spot, he's the only thing really stopping me from 100% buying Ohtani for $41, because I think Ohtani is just amazingly premium at that spot. But if Bobby's really going to hold the 48, look at these guys here. Ronald with 23 barrels. And just also look how they're playing. Here's Olson playing 404. Torkelson a little flat. This is why, for me, Torque is one of the most... I like him misvalued, so I'd rather shove him on a team extra and still punish somebody with another first baseman like Matt. There's Robert playing 394. I mean, just so much shade on Robert. Vlad playing only 368. There's flat Vlad. Manny, Fernando. There's Kyle, 1067, a little bit flat. And there's Ozuna, 383, 19 of them. Just the middle of the year, just ho-hum. I just want to point out Bobby here, 18 barrels, 105.2, but playing at 401. So I think Bobby is 30, 40, 30, 50, 30. He could really take a big one on you. But as people will point out, at this level, Bobby for 50, Shohei for 41, at least based on their prices, is Bobby's just not going to have the cast around him. They got him 30, 40. Yeah, I agree. They got him 30, 40 already. Yeah, and that's conservative. Yeah. but it's a soft spot. You can have nice things. I could have Bobby. I could have Bobby. I could put O'Neal at third. But wanting at the end to say, yes, I've got some of the best players in the league. Surprise. I'm winning. I want to win power and speed this year. If I don't win leagues, but I win power and speed, it's at least a decent starting point. So I'm no on Trey Turner. I'm no on Lindor. Yes, on Elly De La Cruz. Trying to stuff shortstops onto a team. We go to another team. This is a snake. This is a 10-team snake that we drafted the other night with my boy. We're trying to three-peat in this league. The team is Ohapi holding place at center, Pete Alonso, Jackson Holiday, who plays second base on ESPN, Elly De La Cruz, CJ Abrams, Acuna, Trout, Langford, Torkelson, Churio, Esteury Ruiz just fell, Fields, Henry Davis, who will be the shortstop, and Wood out of Washington. I don't know if it might be John, with a Bryce Miller, Lazardo, Phillips, Javier Sale, Robert Suarez, Gavin Stone, who I see a little bit of stuff from Gavin, so I'm up on Gavin suddenly. Hunter Green, Bryce Miller, Alvarado, and Puck. Still getting those same shares, but this is another situation where you'd have to stuff. Can I just talk CJ Abrams here for a second? Because I got concerned about just being really behind the guys that have, I have to get the speed back if I take Ohtani's. I've got to get it from maybe CJ Abrams because there's something to see here on Fangraphs for speed here. So you got your stolen bases right here. Let me make sure. And then I probably also have to, Fangraphs is just struggle city over here as I got some windows open. Can you 20 stolen bases? The stories in it. Yes. So Corbin only got caught 5 times. Bobby is getting caught, but he's stealing. If he didn't get caught 10 of those times, like Corbin, he would have had more. I mean, Kansas City runs a lot. So Bobby is going to run as much as he can handle. So is a story. Ronald, getting caught teams times is not that bad. Here's Julio. Julio's not going to take a step because he's getting caught. They don't want him to get caught 13 times for 40 steals. That's going to slow him down, or 15 for 50. They're getting capped at how many steals because they're getting caught stealing sometimes. And here's Elly getting caught stealing a little bit. But CJ Abrams is also not getting caught for his 50. It's a little something to just be aware of on seeing guys upside. What will cap their stolen base upside is getting caught. Here's Bobby Witt playing long, so the power is believable. Okay, there's Matt McLean, but 104.3. So, I'm just going through that. Obviously, click on your exit velocities to get that, but I want to slide this to the next group. So that's just June to July. We're going to take July to August. So I'm getting some overlap, but I'm getting some fresh data. But I'm getting a 60-day span so that I don't get too much small sample size. What it's hard to see here is who fell out of the list that was high that I overvalued on that session, who didn't make it to the next session. And here I have Spencer Torkelson. This is why I'm drafting. I mean, there it is. Riley, Ohtani, Ozuna. I mean, you kind of, I guess I can't go back to it, but just my original TGFBI team. Teoscar, there's Bobby playing to 400 at 105.6, up past the 105.5 that I need with sweet launch angle. So Bobby looks great in the first round. I know he's going 2, so there's no surprise there. But in salary cap, I just get to pick if I deserve Bobby. And is Bobby a soft spot over Ronald, where Bobby flashed a little bit of the same match? The difference here is Ronald is 108.5. Almost makes you laugh. Here's Bryce at 107. Here's Tatis. Okay, I shouldn't throw so much water on him, but 105.8. Corey's up here. Machado, Berger, Julio, Muncy, Schwarber, Eugenio, Christian Walker, Soto down here at 20, Pete Alonso, Matt Olson. So there's a dip for Matt. I mean, that's a Coles, right? Suddenly, do I want Matt in the first round? Now I'm a little less comfortable. Maybe I would prefer Riley. Juggling these around to make these decisions. Let's take August to September. August to September, Ronald's back. Judge, Bryce, there's Ozuna, Jordan, who you think best hitter in baseball. There's Nolan. That's why I keep doing it. Harris too. The guys that aren't surprises. There's Schwarber, 108.5 for 397. Schwarber has a special hit tool. I think that he's a BABIP casualty. He can't hit 205 again. If it's 240, if he changes his approach and it's 250 and it's 45 more bombs, you're gonna be like, what? Why did I miss out on that? On just raining bombs. There's Bobby Witt with some more. Gunnar. So Gunnar hard, a little flatter. I do like Gunnar. I think Gunnar could be a superstar, but I have to pick. Do I want to try to stack first baseman into this team? Do I want Gunnar? Because part of me wants to take Gunnar and Royce and stack the third baseman. Do I want the shortstop CJ, Ellie, and O'Neill? Getting a little bit greedy. So, let's say, all right, you're chopping it too small. Take June to August. And I just want to show shortstops. Big sample. Like this is the second half of the season. Ezekiel. And so here, even though it's a little light, 103.8, 383, it's doing okay on barrels in the second half. As little CJ Abrams. Do I expect him could he take another little step? Gunner's definitely going before him there. There's Ellie down here. This is where Ellie is on his own. 109.7 for 391. Matt McLean has a couple, 104.8, checking in on these guys. So really on this kind of position by position analysis, we're going to stack some things in. But where my head is really trying to figure out, trying to make a team. If I can get my TGFBI up here. If first it's two, it's so winning the cap. If you're pushing into your umbrella, how far can you push? You're going to be able to push into Ronald. You're going to be able to get someone to spend more money on Ronald, more on Bobby. All the players that I essentially like, I have to get people to spend more into. And then in your ladder, you could try to drop down and catch some value. If the top 100 is I'm looking at pricing, what's interesting in the draft coming up is it's 23 rounds of salary cap and then 7 rounds of snake. So I'm trying to understand. I don't have a sense. I've never done one of these before. I'll have a better sense on the second day than the first. But I guess you'd say this last chunk of guys are just going to get snaked through. If somebody nominates a guy that you're supposed to get here, should you spend nothing on him? How will I build into the bench later in the draft? But if I want to make a better team, maybe I want 3 players in the top 30. Round 7 right here. This is about where 100 is. I'd like to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd like to have more than 8 guys in the top 100. Who are the pricing mistakes in there? How adventurous are these guys going to get in these leagues, in these money leagues? There's Royce for 22. Because I can't tolerate anyone. I can tolerate Jake Burger, but I just haven't had the guts to go get to actually say, where am I going to play him? At true third? At third base every day? I don't think so. Not this year. I'm going to be paying down for catcher. If there's extra utility spots, Cole Keith, I want to be able to just start him somewhere, but I kind of would rather make him a bench bat. Planning on guys getting injured. We first started this staying on the edge of baseball analytics. COVID comes out. I stay on the cutting edge of COVID. For all of the constant chatter about player health, arms, and games, and how many games you're going to play, we still have rampant COVID everywhere. Players getting sick, out with illness all the time. We're plan on benches, plan on guys being hurt, getting sick. A sick with COVID is going to be an IL stint. That's not going to be a flu where they send him down for a little bit. You're seeing Azar Thompson is done for the season. You can go back to Austin Meadows. Austin Meadows' career looks ended by a COVID infection. He goes long COVID. He's not even playing anymore. What happened to Ryan Mountcastle? We weren't wrong. Ryan Mountcastle got COVID, which led to vertigo, which led to he can't play. I don't know if his skills have returned. Luis Robert, COVID right with Austin Meadows, which led to the hip, because you have muscular skeletal regression in the body. When athletes have to perform at an elite level, you can take a little bit off the top. If you don't run, like, maybe you're okay to lose a little lung function and not notice. But if you're an elite athlete who's got to be playing at a game of inches, a game of velocity, taking a little bit off the top can make a big difference. I think Juan Soto's career sort of detour was from his several COVID infections and a couple years ago, and how he's doing now. You see he's never been able to lift the ball. So we're talking a lot about player health. This is to say, building through your bench. Your bench has to come in. Have extra middle infielders so that when your hitters get hurt, when they start missing games, because they're going to be missing games, you're just going to your bench. You're not getting thrown to the wolves, to the mercy of waiver wire, of fab, or a best available, and having huge holes in your lineup. That's not how you're going to win championships. That's how you hit ruts. That's how you start to middle in the middle of the season. You want to say, oh well, I mean, on that team where we have Cruz, where we have Trout, I have Jackson Churio. When Trout gets injured, which I plan on, Jackson Churio is the one who I'm going to put in his spot. So planning ahead for that, with how much injury we're going to keep seeing this season. We're going to keep seeing guys with illness, and how long is it going to be an IL stint? Will they come back all the way? Some will, some might not, but really having to be prepared for that. Look out for illness. If illness, trade those guys. Corner infielder, so third, short, first, outfielders. The story of outfield opportunity cost. I think it's the most in outfield, because outfield is both hard to get a number one each time at the Ronald Corbin, Julio, Tatis Soto level. Those guys don't exist so obviously. We're having to at least play. Is it Harris? Is it Robert? Is it Nolan Jones? Is it really? I don't really think it's Chisholm. I think it's Trout returning to form. This seems silly, because I'm looking at Trout. I'm like looking at him running around, hit a home run, Where did Mike Trout go? Mike Trout, he lost all this weight. It's svelte Mike Trout. So svelte Mike Trout looks like he's tired of being out and being hurt. So as long as Mike Trout is in the box, the production is going to be premium. 263. I mean, we've seen Harper's average ebb and flow. I don't think I can play Yelich. I think I can't do it. I can't play Reynolds, because my desire for power and speed is so great, and how I'm kind of not looking at average too much. I'm not going to be offended by average, because I'm going to be in on exit velocity and hard contact. So here's Schwarber, leaps and bounds over a bunch of these players, being ignored. I like Teoscar a lot. Way over Castellanos. Lane Thomas doesn't show up for me. Duran is more of just a speedster. This gap, I mean, I can't wait. Be prepared to pay upside's true value so you don't get lost. If somebody goes with Wyatt, middle, early, late, wherever in the draft, there's going to be a point. If I see a little lull in the spending, couple guys go for 15 years. We're not seeing just everything getting bid up. Because I would say, when you're pushing into your umbrella to get extra money out, and you want to push a little extra, it's up here at the top. guys that think they need to get value and want the price, they don't really, nobody really wants to start spending a lot over the average they see, the bias that they get from looking at this. So someone on Wyatt Langford is gonna eventually stop. The double, that's gonna bother them. I like Evan Carter, but I only have in some leagues 3 outfield spots. Or how are you gonna use the UT? At least on NFBC, it's 5 outfielders. So now you can kind of have a little variety. I feel like there's more room for an Astoria Ruiz. You could have 4 power and a Ruiz because I want Langford and Carter. I want both of them. I'm so curious about Carter. Like I see him not having power. I think that Wyatt is the more elite player, but I see Evan having some speed. But he's 6'4". He's been hitting well. And I'm just like, ooh, is he just gonna surprise and just go 30, 40? I can't quite tell. But then this other stuff, God, I mean, the amount that I need Carter over Riley Green, I could never, I just don't see it in there. Christopher Morel, I like him at 2B in other formats, but to trust it in an outfield spot with an opportunity cost situation that we have emerging, because did I already pass Churio? Did they even mention Churio? I want to save a spot for Churio. I want Churio to have a chance. Maybe Churio doesn't. He's at $15, so we were passing over him there. $15 for Churio, yeah. So I mean, having to pick and having to differentiate, knowing who you're missing, and then finally pitching where all the money gets pulled back from. I think it's just about, oh, should we talk about Yamamoto getting Rizzocked in his first start, getting chased in one? I mean, the stuff starts to look a little different once the guys are all got the juices flowing, doesn't it? I'm looking at balls that aren't moving that much. I just think it's hard. You're throwing this wiffle ball, you're throwing a certain type of ball for your whole career, and you're catching seams and you're catching spin, riding on grooves, and the jump because I was high on Cody Senga, but I needed more. I've been high on Maeda from certain times. I've been high on guys changing leagues and changing balls. And then you see Yamamoto, like, did that fastball look pin straight? I mean, was he just catching too much zone? The movement on the balls. I saw a guy staring at his curveball like 79. Oh, don't send that at me. So they came out swinging the bat, saying, "Hey, let's get after him. Let's swing at some of this stuff." And Yamamoto will adjust. But how much is there? I think the other thing is short, is height. And so, Eno mentions it because guys are looking for vertical rise and adjusted vertical AAV and run and how much break in one plane or 2 planes. But what they do admit in there that they're having trouble correlating for is that it all has to be like release point adjusted movement, height adjusted movement. So we're still missing some things from a pitcher who's Ober up there at 6'9". He's not even throwing fast. He's throwing down on guys. He's dumping these balls in there. Yamamoto comes in there at 5 and change, and the ball only looks like it moves so much. It's coming right out of the middle tunnel. Chris Sale is over here. Where guys are your side armors, Munoz. They're coming from a little bit different release points, which is making break have a different effect, different effect to some degree. And so I think Yamamoto, the combination, ran into a little bit of trouble on the first day. And I feel better going away from me talking about those 3 aces and just drafting my hitters. And we're gonna see how my pitchers go when the season starts. So the numbers here where I won't be paying. I have no equivalence with any of these pitchers at these prices for the batters. I mean, Scabal's the first one. You've already seen me purchase. Did I go through my picks really clearly here? So 17, Schwarber. I've got to go out of sequence. I don't love doing it. I've got an outfielder. It filled it up. Jordan, Ellie. We just knew I want to win a Yahoo league, so I'll take care of the best player. I think the best hitter. We'll see how it goes. a lot of power, right? Ellie, who we knew. And then because I didn't have Gunner yet, so I got to get some Gunner out of my system. So now I got a piece of Gunner. I got to buy one ace. I'm gonna try to be responsible. I had a good amount of money. I'm not up over, so I got Scooball. We'll take zero dark Scooball because I don't think there's a lot of question about how good he could be. Kind of fell in love with Dylan Cease, my boy from way back. 14 starts to be a little cheap, and then this just feels like value. The way the money's going here, I'll go to whatever number. Final battle, at 63, a lot of the really everything else was gone. It was a must-have piece. We were waiting back, but I had to pay out of sequence. Maybe to have curbed that, would I have nominated O'Neal and had the battle somewhere else? Maybe somebody would have left him if they thought there was more available. What you have is non-available alternatives. If there's not available alternatives and a guy is mismanaging their money to be late stack, you're going to get pushed off some stuff that you could have just gotten right out of the gates. Changing the order, changing the values. And then after that, it's done. I kind of coast for Gans for 10 that nobody knows, I guess. Torkelson for 12. An extra first baseman doesn't seem like much. And I start to kind of feast in the sub $10. Tanner Scott, Ozuna for 9. He has outfield eligibility here. Hunter, Churio, all sorts of prospects. I mean, the way the prospects didn't get ran up, I kind of knew Jackson was going cheap here. Oh man, I did just made me reminded me of something. We're gonna go check something out here because I am getting this sense. It's crazy because Jackson, I think it was Baseball Prospectus having to Baseball Prospectus saying that scouts are looking at Jackson and saying he looks young because his face looks young. And he does. I mean, he's got a little baby face, but I think you should watch some interviews of him and because here's Matt, his dad, Matt Holliday. And so his Matt raised Jackson in Matt's clubhouse. And what you're seeing from Jackson is a very level-headed competitor, a very MLB ready mentality from Matt explaining stuff to him. And so I don't think you can judge him by what he looks like in appearance. And I'm always prospect heavy. You might think kind of live or die with some of this. Is this gonna look here? Let me see here. This is Jackson's little brother hitting some 104s. We don't need to see that. Let's see where we get Jackson up here. All right, this guy who's hosting gets his hits in. But I'm gonna have us take a little look at Jackson. Let's just whet our appetites here. Oh no, this is Matt. We don't want Matt yet. Did Jackson go before him? Oh yeah, here he is. All right, here we go. Here's Jackson. And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, Jackson's in a home run derby. Look at this front foot. Look at his foot. He just floating it, hovering, and then flying through this thing. A little bit of power, a little bit of muscle on the lower half. And here he's just crushing some baseballs. I'm thinking, oh, he's just opening it up. It's home run derby. So he's taking these big hacks. He's floating that foot, just hitting it however he wants. When everyone 107, when everyone wants to talk about the Skeens at bat, and that Skeens was throwing 100. These home run derby swings that Jackson Holliday is taking here, he swings like this in the league at every at bat. I noticed something these guys do. I'm watching him on that front elbow. I think Matt taught him this, like in golf. That lead arm straightens out, and then it's big arms. They said he got a little bit long at one point. Apparently, he's got elite plate discipline. He'll talk about his approach. He says, "I'm looking fastball. I'm looking to hit heaters." See him just floating that foot and gliding. They're sort of calling it like a controlled rage. I heard some, they're like, well, if Jackson goes, 15-25, apparently he's gonna take bases. He's gonna take some bases with this profile. It's doubles, it's triples, There's 107. So yeah, I'm in a little extra early. If I wanted to see 105, so his brother's not hitting 106, 107. So you can check that out. I just think it's interesting. And then it's worth checking out Pops here. We're checking out Maddie. I mean, Jackson's not Maddie, obviously. But things about the approach. Apparently, he's got an amazing swing. You can just see the timing. I'm sure Matt got him access to velocity, to other off-speed stuff. Here's Matt from the first one. Just uncorking some stuff. Old guy can still swing the bat. That was a mishit. We give him more. I won't let him end on that. I think he gets a hold of another one here. Sure, certainly. I didn't watch much more of the Derby. Matt qualifies here pretty quickly with no outs, and then takes a break after 113, Matt. Ooh. Oh, he just opened up. Look, that was like what, no looker? Where he just no, just fly open on it, just blast it. What else you got, Matty? This is just for fun. Yeah, you missed it. All right, let's see. You gonna get one? It's not a bad shot, just straight away. Gone. Oh, wall ball 402. This is what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. Come on, man. Give me a good one. Oh, that's not it. That's not it clean. They get to take in whatever bat they want, apparently. So they're crushing some stuff. That wasn't wood. So, but it's where do I stack these guys on here? Can I get Jackson Holiday? I mean, I'm getting a little bit off track here. I want to break it. I want to break that draft. I want to break that auction a little bit, break that salary cap open. I'll try to report in. You guys have a lot of my targets. You got where I'm looking. Let me go back to search here. Is there anything else? That was second base. I did second base. Second half of the season. There's your Nolan Gorman. 106.7, 383. I think he's going for pretty cheap. Zach Geloff, 104.5, a little bit less, but a good amount of barrels to sort it out. You can check your catchers here. Yeah, I do need to talk some players. Do need to talk some roster resource with you guys. So what's happening with this Scott? Victor Scott too. What do you do? 5'10". Lot of bases last season. Tons. Not striking out. Here he is in spring, 316. And this gentleman may be making the league here right out of spring. 45 already, 50 hit tool, no power, but the 80 grade speed. 5'10", apparently a flawless bunter. Could be terrorizing bases. Opportunity cost, you gonna use the bench spot on him? If you missed out on a lot of speed, if you need more. If you need more, he's out there. Some guys got sent down. You're looking at San Francisco Giants have a big kind of 60 grade prospect that they want to take over at shortstop. Didn't make it. Jackson Merrill, here he is, 21 years old. The Padres just wilding. It's good to know he's out there, but I'm trying to think for me. Where do I play him? Am I ready to play him in a full outfield spot? 6'3", 195. Love it. I mean, the Pods were right on Tatis, so they could be right again here. We have him very big, described as more of a contact hitter. Here we see the eye and the plate discipline, very little striking out, walking a little bit, hitting 351 in spring, 2 bombs, 2 bases. Kind of doing it all. You see a 55er with a 70 future value hit tool. Little pop, not too much speed. Who knows how it grades out with new baseball, but it's worth seeing that he got that going. Arizona's got a shortstop in their system that got sent down. Does Washington have him up here? I've already mentioned Wood, but still really thinking that Wood's going to make it. Prospect wise, that's pretty much it. But Crockett, this is wild. I should probably go to Crockett's Savant over here, if anything. I'm looking at the White Sox again because we're looking for the closer situation. We're looking all over the place. And all of a sudden, and I've always like seen Crockett as a big, big old arm, 24-6-6 from the left. He's got some juice. And roster resource is just not showing him. And I'm hearing, no, he's being stretched as a starter. He's being stretched as a starter. Here's 100 four-seamer, 100-mile-an-hour four-seamer with a nasty slider, catching huge whiff. 2020. See a little gap here is 2021. The fastball is 96.7, still getting some whiffs over here. Spin rates are not crazy. Fastball, you can see that's where he got hurt. You see that fastball spin coming down. But apparently he's back. That's not his true velo. But he's an opening day starter. Just out of the blue, out of just not listing him. So roster resource is a little behind. They get there eventually. But news is going to break. This is a round one, number 11 pick going back into the starting rotation, adding a splitter. He's a big guy. We're looking for that pitching wise. So you want to keep it locked in on your roto wire. I thought this Los Angeles, a very, very quiet prospect here on the Angels. Well, I wouldn't say prospect, but a hitter. You got new manager at the Los Angeles Angels. Is this Nolan Chanel? I mean, I guess they think he's gonna get that's a little platoon symbol, so that's gonna scare guys off. But here's Nolan Chanel walking more than he strikes out, walking more than he strikes out, walking and walking. 244, not amazing right now, but he's coming for it. He's up right now. Here's some hit, 6'4", 220, maybe some power later. Hasn't showed up yet. Good little player. Really just plate discipline. If you're just you're in a pinch, you're trying to fill out your bench. But that's where I am laying out where I'm gonna go in this salary cap. Pitching that I'm gonna push. We've talked about every pitcher at this point, and that's where at this point in the season you can get caught up looking for shares. And really, I'm just coming into it with team build. Do I need more Nolan Jones? I'm going to be sticking with Cruz again, but I want to build out around it a little bit more thorough. On salary cap, what else did I have to share with you guys? Thinking of opportunity cost, getting money into the draft, nomination strategy, having that final battle, making sure to shove and win that battle. If you're a little bit high on money, throwing it in there. I'm surprised. You want to win that last guy. That's the guy you've been saving the money for. I'm a little bit surprised guys aren't talking explicitly about nominating, grabbing a player, how to control timing of your spending. Because are you never doing that? Are you only going to bid when it's not your guy? Everyone is nominating who they don't want and then only bidding when they see their guy. You're a mark. You're a mark when that happens. So, let's get back. Can I get back into the search? I was looking at one other thing. Let me jump over to pitching here. Sticky X Wobas, a little bit of player movement. We had talked about this chase. And I was like, well, haven't looked at the chase percentages in a while. Low C, Class A. Then coming back to your K to BB. This is already sorted by chase. Who do you get excited about? Let's see. McHugh getting strikeouts. Kershaw. There's somebody in here that I thought was a little bit interesting. Devin Williams gone. Garrett gone. Over? I mean, does he deserve that much hype? I mean, what you're seeing is at least this is just the chase. I mean, everything else is very, very scary, getting hit pretty hard. I guess I was scrolling pretty low. It was just watching somebody like Will Smith, who not throwing very hard. Here he is. The fastball is not very good. How is Will gonna live? Is Will gonna close for KC? I think he might because of that chase. Because that ends up being a particularly important little piece when you're trying to just, work through these closers. I'm taking this is we're looking at who's filling in the closer roles already. Likes Trevor McGill over Papayas? Papayas? Who does roster resource have closing here? So this will be on the fly, these kinds of adjustments. I mean, knowing that McGill is out there, people haven't had a lot of time to get comfortable with this closing. Okay, they have him jumping them now. Payam, Uribe, we're really not sure yet. But likes McGill here because McGill is throwing that 99 gas with a knuckle curve with huge spin, and the cheddar has spin on it too. He had a slider that he put away. Maybe he doesn't need it. Oh man, spin, spin, spin. 76, 29 chase, but 32 whiff. Sharp stuff right there, AC stuff from a Trevor McGill, 6'8". Could very well be picking up saves all of a sudden. You're looking at the injury to the backup closer for the Angels, putting Carlos Esteves in the closer spot. I'm still wondering what's happening in San Diego. So just accumulating news. But is it really moving the needle that much? A lot of the focus has got to be on the upper spot. And so I'm always paying the guys. I mean, I don't think you can talk about salary cap without talking about your players. I'm not simply going to let the draft come to me, see what values are. I want to be pushing around. I want to be moving needles. At the end of a draft, if I really had a good go of it, I had bid because think about adding this up. I spent all right. I took a guy to 20, took him to 30, took him to 35. So I put 100 into the auction, into the salary cap. A few players. I put 1,000 in. I spent all these bids. Even if I'm wanting, count that. Go ahead. Think that you got no. If you're just one upping, no. You get a 34, you pay the 36. But how many fights like that did you have? What you have to do is have fights and catch L's. Quiet fights for L's. Quiet fight things you don't want L's. The safe way to do it is to make sure you're fighting in your family of guys. The way to not get hung up is to realize what tier you are in the umbrella, what level. And so what you'll do is the idea of stars and scrubs is code for, because every team is stars and scrubs, it doesn't make any sense. It's code for wasting all your money up front. When you or purchase, oh, I'm not going to go stars and scrubs, I'm going to purchase in the middle. You're going to lose. You're going to lose that. You have to be purchasing, hopefully, maybe 2 first-round picks. Maybe a first and 3 second-round picks. Something where you're getting extra talent that otherwise wouldn't be available in normal draft and normal snake things. That's what makes it fun, is taking too much. And then finding, because I think that a lot of drafters are getting lucky. They're stumbling into stuff. We understand pitchers in a different way and look at different aces. So we see a different board here. I'm never taking Aaron Nola or Framber Valdez whatsoever, really, or Max Fried or any of these closers. So it's a different looking board, but we have to see the board through the other players' eyes. If we only bet on our guys, I want to look for a guy gets desperate. You want to know a mark move is saving a bunch of stack and seeing a lot of first round stuff, maybe not get nominated. And then all of a sudden, let's say Freeman, or it'll be Kyle Tucker. Nobody nominates him. Some guys get queued, some go off the top. So Kyle Tucker slips to the 15th or 16th nom, and the guy has no money. And now he's bidding. And he's bidding aggressively, he's bidding fast. He's in on Kyle Tucker. He has to get Kyle Tucker. And if you can smell that little blood in the water, take him for $5, take him for $10. You know, the sign, someone starts bidding back, bidding back. They want me to stop. All right, I'll bid $5 more and I'll stop. And then let them, they did it one more time. Did they have time? If I know they're doing that and I ran them for 5 and they do it again because they're going quick, that's a big jump and pushing some of those swings in. And the more you're doing that, so being defensive so that other juggernaut teams don't form behind you. Even if a guy is decent, there is replacement level. There's gonna be rounds of snake. There's gonna be, it's $260. A guy could spend down to 100, two $50 players. Oh my God. He took Bobby Witt and Corbin Carroll, something like that. Something where they stacked into the skills as opposed to compensating for each other, stacking into it. You're never gonna catch up in speed to somebody doing that. So he really has to pay that you get him in other categories or you get your speed back. And I'm not saying I have time to go back and look at all the teams. I mean, if I get some time, if I make a purchase, like, all right, I got to cool off, go and look at teams as much as you can to see where they have to fill. A good nomination is, what is somebody missing? I check the league. 3 of you guys don't have third baseman. Here you go. So that kind of compensation, it seems subtle, but I think that if you look, no one is saying it. And that was the difference for me. If you look at the draft from that perspective, not just your team, how much you're gonna go into the draft, how much you're gonna push it up. Because the overall thing of the umbrella, and we've talked about this before, so I think it's not just the first lid, but having a couple different lids in the pyramid structure so that you got your $50 tier. There's not much 40 because quickly we're into a very flat MLB there's not much difference. We think there's a difference because we're very picky on players, but nobody else sees much difference. So it's not going to ebb and flow much there. And once you start pushing this money in, if the whole thing is up, you want to kind of push that cliff in your favor. If everybody bids weird, the cliff will come later and money will start to just overall suppress and big stacks will start to accumulate where you're losing your leverage. There's a way to compensate. If you see you're falling behind to a big stack, go early on that. Bid in or put your guy in now. Uh-oh, I'm losing big stack. I'm not going to get Wyatt Langford for 11. Nobody is going to at this point, and you have $70. Maybe now's when you want to spend 25 or 30 on Wyatt before big stack's going to get reckless, whatever it takes, beating him to the punch there. It's a more active draft. It's busier. Obviously, you can't lose control. You can't be in the heat of the moment, pushing somebody up and getting stuck with stuff. If I were to even say the counter, once people know what I'm doing and they're seeing me do it, like my home leagues, to the hang up, the only way, the thing that I'm most scared of to stop me is letting me have something that I'm pushing up that I don't want. That's the great fear. That would be the worst. The worst to do it is when it was really, really financially a bad bid. From 260, if you only have to enforce the $30 and you have to spend 15 for players, that's $45. I can comfortably spend $215 in the auction and sit at 45 and still push value into guys. They know 15, 15, 20, 15. So that's super. And if you catch me doing that, which is super annoying, you have to let me have one of them to get me to stop doing it. And so I'm already in the next step of stopping myself, of stopping other people. Maybe I've seen other people do this, of like, my boys who we think alike on players, and I go, oh God, I just have to stop. Like, I'd rather bid him up to where he's spoiled value. I was at 20. I take him to 30. But now you're ruining my pyramid structure or my scheme. And we go to 31 I lose them at 33. You have them. And if you only had 50 or $60, you've already bought, because typically in our leagues, we've already spent huge money on this top really, gradient of superstar, there's not much, you take one more guy and essentially at least for a brief amount of time, I've neutralized. You've been neutralized. Because if you get neutralized below enforcement value, you're basically out. You're saving those couple dollars. Like I said, everybody is saving a little bit for the end. So now you got to save 5 per player in the dollar days. You got to. So and we would spend, so the level of spending up, it just comes down to creativity. I don't think the prices narrative on Flags Fly Forever or most any other place about sticking close to their prices makes any sense whatsoever. Because I want to leave with super flashy, complete teams that I've built into the benches. I mean, is this a good team? I don't. Once I get a couple out, here's a 3 outfielder league. Schwarber, Jordan. I like other guys. I like Robert. I could probably one of these teams. I think we're going to see a Robert jump on one of them. I think the value. I think he's getting a little bit disrespected. He's not flashing all the way in the exit velocity, but maybe he gets fully healthy a couple years removed from all of his COVID. Robert Suarez went out and got me a save. Look at that. I didn't even catch that today. But is this a good team? Torkelson? That's as low as I wanted to go at first base, but I'm there. Again, as low as I wanted to go. But you see me stacking some stuff in. Here's O'Neill in my util. Here's Ozuna in a util. All the prospects I could handle. Did get Skubal, bouncing my relievers. It got sloppy, but relievers are sloppy. So I expect that. I expect relievers to be sloppy. Let me throw Gavin Stone up here. It kind of shocked me. We were under the gun here. Gavin Stone is caught that 5th starter job because I just got to just dumping with the little tidbits that are coming out. I mean, and I am kind of checking everyone for spring. We're not having the guys that we're discussing have discussed all summer, all spring. Here's Gavin Stone, 78, 34, 3. That's what led me to the chase percentage. I was like, where is he? And 30.9? What? So we just clicked. I mean, mid-draft, jumped over. I was like, hold on a sec. Gavin just got the job. Let me check what he's doing. These dots, like, oh, he's wild. Oh, well, 5, mix. He's got mix. Leading changeup, and that's a little weird. But then ultimately, 41% whiff on the change. No, I get why he does it. His out pitch, he was getting touched, beyond touched on the 4-seamer and the cutter. That has to stop. Is the slider decent? Maybe. But he's 94 with the Ched. It just turns out it's just these. It's just right there. It's 30, it's 80, 30, 30 line. So I like Gavin. Apparently he's taken a step. He's matured. He's out there competing. He's a little small, but that's what we got going. And there's a couple other little starters moving around. Is there any other major players, any major movement that I gotta share? I gotta go back to Wood. I think it's quiet. Is it James Wood? Am I looking for James Wood? Is that his first name? I don't know. I was thinking time. It's James Wood, 6'6". I mean, this is one where I'm starting to make a spot for James. James has got 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases in spring, hitting 325. Them thinking about maybe forcing him forcing the issue. We've already looked at this. This game power, raw power. I'm just gonna show it again. This 60 future value. Just how he's cooking right now. It's not making the news a lot, but I think he could kind of surprise there. But again, I don't know. I'm not ready to just say James is my number 3. I'd rather have him splash, force my hand, or have a full outfield and then some James on the bench. So that's all I have room for. If I have James, it's going to exclude me from Garrett Mitchell, Rojas, Scott too, who I like. Oh yeah, we got another one for you. We got the Red Sox. We gotta go to him. I didn't remember his name yet because we're just getting a little taste of him. Let's see here. Let's go to the Sox. The Sox have a little center fielder coming up. I don't know if Duran is injured, but Sorting through these prices. Here he is, Sadane Raphael. They got him going 15-18, but it looks like 2020 upside 5'8", 145, tiny, tiny, but basically breaking camp. Being too hot to handle. They're ready to get him a shot here. Wasn't that productive last season. You see a little pop in the minors, so even though he's small, now the launch that one max. I don't think there's a lot of pop, but that's deep league. That's only league stuff. It's something you got to be aware of on waivers if it pops. If you really have bought everything up front and you need an extra guy, I thought it will be a name to get through to you guys. Arizona sent down Lawler. I think, so one to be ready for is Jordan Lawler. Didn't make it. He's gonna go down, but gonna come right back up. The word on Skeen still looks very good. Won't be down in the minors too long. Everyone talking about limited innings. Gosh, so hard to chase innings and wins. Jordan Lawler got sent down, but yeah, see 176. That didn't excite the ball club enough to bring up a 60 value. Jordan Lawler. He's got a lot of field on him, but they're showing a little bit of pop. Maybe that hit tool just wasn't ready, was striking out a little bit too much for their liking. The shine has fallen off of the outfielder moving to Atlanta. Pitching wise, who has emerged? I think Chris Sale, I'm starting to believe back in. I think Shane Bieber, Rodon, some of the old guys balancing it late. Pitcher for Atlanta, Ronaldo Lopez, securing the 5th spot for the Atlanta Braves. I think you got it thinking about that a little bit. I am doing this Hunter Henry. Is it Henry? I'm doing this Henry and putting him at catcher. This Henry Davis. It's just exciting. I don't like the catchers. I'm gonna do Henry Davis. Just reminded me, just for the catcher stuff. There are some misvalued catchers. I don't know if it means I'm gonna go get them. So I switched to catcher here. But I think my thing is probably this is chunky late in the season. Yeah, Francisco Alvarez, Wilson Contreras playing 394, 1087. So Sean Murphy, Wilson Contreras, Alvarez. Billy had a lot of bros, but they weren't that hard. So happy. But Contreras, Murphy, and Francisco Alvarez, they're kind of like the catchers. That's where I'd want to be, a catcher in reality. And I don't think it's done that way. It's not Williams up there. I like Wilson down here for 11 over William for some reason. I guess that's me not chasing average. Adley looks great average wise. Will Smith, yeah, average. But there's Sean for 10, really mashing. Another one down here. Miss Francisco down here for 10. A couple options at 10. I'm not going to get caught up using money on catcher before I've established. So this is 5 outfielders. I want them to be premium in this draft over here. Look what I've got to fill. 5 outfielders, the UT. It's tough with Marcel because part of me says, well, value-wise, but I don't want to make the same exact team again. I guess that's where my head is. I got to make a little bit different. I could draft the same exact. That's how much I love the team. Just try to add Evan Carter and Schwarber. Try to switch Robert for Jones. How much deviation I live with? Get Abrams. Can I get off of any of these prospects? Can I stop it with Churio and let Holiday be enough? Can I say no to Buxton? There's Crochet. There's me missing it right there for Wicks. Right there in that turn. This is super late stuff. So it's really stuff above 23 here. What did I want? What did I miss out on? What's popping in the spring? Henry Davis. So, those are the names that I'm trying to clean up. Yeah, Kellenic, he's getting platooned. That's going down. Tyler O'Neill, it's very boom bust. Tyler O'Neill's interesting. He's always had the metrics. There's a little Arizona outfielder that I don't think gets talked about that much. Let's see if we can get him up there. Already on Arizona. And that's where just kind of like keep looking because I think with the echo chamber, a lot of the same guys. Jordan Walker just started getting talked about a lot. Here's Alec Thomas, 34, 24 years old. I mean, 23 years old, 5'11". All right, so he's not that big, so I'm not that excited. I thought he had a little bit of prospect status, but he's been struggling. So, nothing new and exciting there. It's really just Wood, Crockett, some of those late arms. Arms falling apart. Yuri Perez, another one. Ooh, darn. Gavin Williams. Oh, all these closers, all these SPs run into some trouble. Scherzer looks like value. Scherzer's back on the mend, looking like he's ready to go. They got him touching a ball finally. What else I got here? So, yeah, just trying to dispel some of that concept, some of that stars and scrubs kind of discussion at the end. I mean, in the end, I probably, want to have some best players. Do I really want to pay? Is Bobby Witt going to dominate the league? Or is it just Ohtani? And is the Ohtani, is there a strict number? No, it's really not. Depending on the attitude of the draft, 45, 50, because even if it's my only first piece and he goes to 50, it's going to calibrate around it. People are going to go, oh man, Ohtani 50. Well, everyone's up. Maybe Yordan's up. Well, you're going to have to pay more to get your piece and your piece. Because in the end, you want to be holding the player. You become problematic with the asset. Possession is 9/10 of the law. So I got to get ready for these drafts. Fantasy baseball analytics. Big shout out to the boys. Big shout out to all the subscribers. Carson out there. Big shout out, my boy out there. Let's go. Let's win some leagues. I'll let you guys know the shares. You guys should be winning some leagues this year. Projections are totally broken.